Right, Municipal Workers Union Samwu Tshwane has welcomed a legal opinion that says Randal Williams is no more the executive mayor. Williams submitted 2 letters of resignation last week. In the first letter, he claimed his last day in office would be with immediate effect that midnight on the 13th of February. Then a short while later, he tendered a second letter in which he claimed his last day would be on the 28th of February. Now, Samwu has accused Mayor Williams of presiding over the collapse of the Metro municipality's finances. For reaction to the legal opinion issued today, we are now joined by Samwu Tshwane Regional Secretary Mpho Tladinyane. Mpho, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time. So in a clarity statement, the Speaker saying that the city decided to obtain formal legal opinion on the validity of the resignation after the former executive mayor's second resignation letter, which sought to amend the first one. The Speaker saying that the mayoral committee was dissolved with immediate effect from midnight on the 13th of February. Is this the opinion that you as Samwu has also been holding?
Yeah, no, thanks, Tom. We as Samwu in Gauteng and also in the city of Tshwane, we welcome the legal opinion which was sourced by the Speaker of Council, Dr. Muruna, with regard to whether to take the first resignation or the second one in respect of the executive mayor council, Randal Williams. We believe that we have been vindicated. Immediately the executive mayor resigned. You'll remember that just few hours there was a second resignation letter. But what we then said to the executive at that particular time, including the powers that be in the city, we indicated that as far as we understand, the first resignation letter of the executive mayor, Council Randal Williams, should then be recognized. We further said to them that it's important that as at that particular time, that means at 12 o'clock midnight on the 13th of February, all the members of the mayoral committee, meaning the executive of the executive mayor, should then hand all whatever that belongs to the city in terms of vehicles and whatever that is normally afforded to the executive. So this legal opinion has then vindicated us as Samwu in Gauteng and also in the city of Tshwane. So
why do you think there was this somersaulting? What led to the second letter coming out? What was the intention of that second letter?
No, we suspect that there might have been some political pressure, especially from coalition partners. Now, if you look at the way things unfolded at that particular time, it appears as if the executive mayor might not have consulted with the coalition partners in terms of his decision. Now, after the coalition partners were made aware of the intention by the executive mayor to resign, we suspect that they might have coerced the executive mayor to withdraw that particular resignation letter and submit the second one, which indicated that he will then be leaving around the 28th of February. So we believe that coalition partners were not ready for that particular immediate resignation, and remember that you see the consequence of such is that the speaker must then be able to convene council meeting within 14 days so that they can then elect the executive mayor. So we suspect that coalition partners were not ready at that particular time in terms of ensuring that who will they field as the executive mayor for the city of Tshwane.
You're connecting this resignation with the salary increase of workers which were denied by this mayor, you're saying in 2021. Looking at the state of finances of the city right now, I think they're saying they've got a 4 billion or so deficit that comes about because of money that was spent for the homeless, for all sorts of reliefs during the COVID-19 lockdown, which has now resulted in the city being unable, for example, to meet its obligation like buying petrol for the buses or paying Eskom its monthly obligations. Do you think just because the mayor has been removed, that situation of the finances will now automatically improve to the extent that salary wages would now be afforded?
No, not Thabo. You see, in the past few years, we have been saying to the executive mayor and the executive, including the administration, to say that we have noted that the city has been leaking money, and we had identified areas where that particular leakage was taking place. Now, if you take a deep dive into the challenges that's facing the city of Tshwane, it's not necessarily to say that the city does not have money. The problem is maladministration. The problem is mismanagement. If you now look at actually what is happening, you see, we have lost 10 billion rand due to irregular expenditure. We have lost another, 1 billion rand to wasteful expenditure. Now, if you look at all these particular things, if there was proper management of finances and the executive, including council, were providing the necessary oversight, all this should have happened. It should not have happened. What we're simply looking for as employees is that the city must then be able to pay what is due to us, the 3.5, which they were supposed to have paid in that particular previous financial year. And if you look at that particular amount of money, it might run into 800, 900 or a billion rand. So it's not much compared to the money that has been wasted due to irregular expenditure. Now, this particular mismanagement of contracts, mismanagement of finances, is actually which led to the city not being unable to purchase fuel to ensure that buses are able to be on the street. So the actual challenges in the city of Tshwane has to do with mismanagement of funds and not any other thing. But what we're hoping that is that we're hoping that if we have now a new executive mayor, there are certain things that must then be elevated, especially those that concern workers. The city owes us the 3.5, like I said earlier on. There is also what the once-off payments that were supposed to be paid to us in lieu of benchmarking process. Our Metro Police officers, the constable sergeants, were supposed to be graded and to be paid at a better scale, and that thing has not happened. So we're hoping that with a new government that will then be elected and appointed in the next 14 days will then be able to ensure that all these particular challenges that are facing workers in the city of Tshwane are being taken into consideration, and subsequently workers are being paid what is due to them. That will then be able to elevate the morale, which is low due to the cutting of benefits, the cutting of a number of things that are due to these particular employees.
What makes you believe that there will be a change of hands in terms of the administration and even the executive that is looking over Tshwane? What if the DA continues to run that metro municipality?
No. There's definitely going to be change. But we're not necessarily saying that which political party will then take over. We're simply referring to change in terms of the executive mayor position. And remember that it is not our competency to be dictating in terms of who should then become the executive mayor or which political party must emerge in this case. What we'd want to see happening as Labour is to get a capable leadership which will ensure that indeed all the issues that affect the residents of the city of Tshwane and us as workers, all these particular matters are being dealt with properly.
So as Samwu, do you have confidence in an arrangement, for example, that we are seeing in the city of Johannesburg, where a deal was carved within the opposition parties, that a minority party, for example, with fewer seats, will take the mayorship, while the BFF, the ANC, for example, take MMC positions? Would Samwu be comfortable with that kind of an arrangement in the city of Tshwane?
No, Thabo. You see, our observation in the last few years has been that, coalition governments are to a certain extent creating instability in various municipalities. You look at in the city of Tshwane, for example, you see, we're going to have a fifth mayor, for example. You look in Johannesburg, there's been a number of changes in terms of the the executive mayor position in the city of Johannesburg. So coalition governments, by their nature, are not stable, and they may even bring that particular element of instability within the administration, because if the political leadership is not stable or council is not stable, that will then have a ripple effect in terms of the administration of the municipality. But we're hoping, Thabo, that once there is a new executive mayor in the city of Tshwane, we're hoping that that particular executive mayor will then appoint a very capable members of the mayoral committee who will then be in a position to can be able to steer this particular ship going forward.
Yeah. I mean, if we look at the outcomes of the election process, no one single party has been given that overwhelming mandate. So it is likely that it's going to be some kind of power sharing arrangement that is going to have to be put together by the various parties that would be able to get the numbers that would be able to give them the mayorship. Do you see that arrangement as sustainable? Maybe is what I need to be asking.
Yeah, not Thabo. We're just hoping. There's no guarantee that whichever political party will emerge or will then be given the responsibility to lead the city of Tshwane in this particular instance will then be able to bring the needed stability. It's just a hope that indeed things will go as planned. You see, the situation in the city of Johannesburg has then said to us that those who are in the coalition, as soon as they don't get whatever that they had hoped to get, they may decide to go out of that particular coalition and look for other coalition partners. So we can't guarantee that there will indeed be stability in the city of Tshwane. But what we can simply do as workers in this particular instance is to hope that indeed things go well, this stability, so that we as workers are able to provide the needed services by residents of this particular city of Tshwane. Yeah. Because remember that if there's no political stability, that affects us as employees, and therefore service delivery will then be affected due to a number of reasons as a result of that particular instability.
How is the current back and forth, particularly around the mayor? I know we're now looking at another 14 days before there's an executive in place. How is that affecting service delivery?
No, we should indicate that, you see, the mayoral committee is entrusted with certain responsibility in terms of the Municipal Systems Act and other acts that are applicable in local government. And amongst other things, to ensure that indeed they provide oversight on the total administration of the city and also the finances of the city. So if we don't have a very stable mayoral committee, it will not be in a position to can then be able to provide that particular oversight, which must then ensure that indeed things are being done properly. Remember that, especially looking at the finances of the city, we should at all times ensure that indeed the city is able to provide the necessary tools of trade for workers to be able to ensure that indeed we are able to deliver services. But if you don't have an administration and the executive that seeks to ensure that indeed all those things are being provided, workers will not be able to provide those particular services. Yeah. The simplest example is the one with regard to non-payment of service providers. And as a result, those particular service providers were unable to provide fuel for municipal trucks, diesel for municipal buses and all those things. So that indicates that if there are challenges within the administration and the political leadership, it then has that particular ripple effect in terms of whatever services that we have to provide. Remember, we then had to go 2 days, over a period of 2 days, without collecting kids, without taking people to their various workplaces and being unable to ferry school kids to various learning institutions. So that will definitely have a negative effect in the provision of services.
But as Samwu, why have you not come up with a way of being able to to insulate your members, the workers, so that their employment is not affected by the change of a political principle?
What we should indicate, Tab, is that, you see, there is a difference between employees who are not based in political offices and those who are in political offices. Those who are in political offices will then be treated differently and in terms of a different, policy regime compared to those who are not necessarily in private offices of political office bearers.
Yeah.
So as a result, those who are in offices of political office bearers, once the political office bearer leaves office, they are given 3 months to get their things in order, and immediately they will then have to leave office. But what we will then be doing as some going forward is that, remember that we're not necessarily into politics. We just want to ensure that indeed workers are well taken care of. We will be engaging the city manager to ensure that the well-being of this particular affected employees is taken care of. But we're also pleading and cautioning political parties in this particular instance to say that is not their competency to be dealing with employees who should then be dealt with by the city manager in this instance. Yes, they can deal with their matters related to council, related to the executive. But with regard to what then happens to employees, that is not their terrain. They must then leave that to us as labor. We will engage the accounting officer in this particular instance, referring to the city manager, and will then decide what then happens to this particular employee.
Yeah, but how do we avoid situations like what we are raising now, right? You're saying, by and large, the 3.5% you didn't get because Randal Williams was the mayor and he refused to give you that. And you are now hoping with a change of hands in administration, you will now be able to get the 3.5. I'm saying, how do you ensure that the 3.5 you get irrespective of who is the mayor who is in the office?
Yeah, no, Tabo, you remember that, you see, the decision to not pay us the 3.5 was not necessarily taken by the administration. As at that particular time, the information that we received at that time was that the administration was prepared to pay that 3.5 salary increase, but the person who blocked the payment of the 3.5 was Randal Williams at that particular time. He went to the mayoral committee. He changed the report which was presented by the administration to say, don't pay. Instead, you must then take this particular matter to the bargaining council and apply for exemption. And he further went to council. He lobbied councillors, especially those in the coalition, to not pay that particular salary increase. So believe that with a new mayor now coming in, we will then be able to sit down with whoever that particular new mayor will be, so that we can then be able to share experiences with regard to that particular matter. The city must then be able to declare in terms of how far are they with their finances and agree on how that particular money will then be paid. Yes, we are prepared to say, if, for example, there is willingness from the side of the employer to pay, we are prepared to enter into a payment plan to say if they don't have the 1 billion as we speak now, we can then be able to agree in terms of how will they be able to pay that amount of money over a particular period of time. But at the end of the day, that particular money must then be paid to these particular employees. They deserve it with the hardships that workers are facing as we speak now. Yeah. Those particular workers deserve, that particular salary increase.
Let's talk about the revitalization of the city. What are the things that you would want the incoming administration to focus on immediately that would change the fate of the residents of the city of Tshwane?
Can you repeat that?
I'm saying in terms of the revitalization of the city, what are the priority areas that you would want the incoming administration in the next 14 days to focus on that would immediately and quickly have some kind of reward and benefit for the people?
Yeah, fortunately, we remember, Tabo, that we have had a number of marches in the city of Tshwane. And during those particular matches, we had provided ways in which the city can then be able to source revenue. Amongst things that we will then be engaging the new executive mayor on is the outsourcing of municipal services. Thabo, you will then find that the city has employed people in the Department of Environmental, for example, in the Environmental Department, whose sole responsibility to ensure that they do grass cutting, they take care of parks and all those things. But as much as we then have employees employed for that particular purpose, the city will then go out to outsource that particular service to private companies. Then it then brings an element of duplication. That means we're then leaking a lot of money in that instance. That's the first one. Secondly, we also engage the city with regard to waste management. The city has bought a number of trucks to provide that particular service. But as much as we have those particular trucks, they keep on outsourcing that particular service to other private companies. So we had a number of engagements with Randal Williams at that particular to say, at a given time, you'll find that there are close to 150 or 200 employees at waste management who will then report for it, and they have nothing to do because the work that they're supposed to be doing has been outsourced to private companies. So we'll simply say to the incoming executive mayor to say, this is actually where the city is losing a lot of money, and this is how we can then be able to can this thing so that the city can then be able to realize more revenue that can then be able to fund a number of projects for the betterment of the residents of the city of Tshwane.
Mpho Tladinyane, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming on. That is the Regional Secretary of Samwu in Tshwane.